think that reaction speaks for itself. We unfortunately do not have a lot of time for a Q&A, but I'll make sure to leave time for some audience questions because I know Raoul wants to hear feedback from you. Let me just ask you a couple of things before we open it up. Maybe you could start by talking about your relationship to Baldwin's work, what he has meant to you when you discovered his writing.
Well, I think that a lot of people, probably half of this room, black or white, by the way, had read a Baldwin book that changed their life. That's how important Baldwin was and is. And I read Baldwin when I was 15 or 16, and I never stopped. It's somebody that I felt was always near me and helped me understand the complexity of this world, and not only here in the United States, but throughout the world. And it's like somebody through whom you could understand directly and go to the precise explanation that you need to build your own mind.
Was there a particular book, a particular work that spoke to you when you were 15 or 16? Do you recall?
All of them, and particularly the essays. I personally love the essay much more than the fictions.
As you said in the introduction, this is a film that was many years in the making. I think that's really clear in how intricately structured it is. You're using this unfinished manuscript as sort of the spine of the film, but as people probably notice in the credits, you're using a lot of Baldwin's other writing as well. I think very important too is The Devil Finds Work, his really amazing book on American movies. Can you talk a little bit about just this process of selection and synthesis?
But the story behind that is that once I had this incredible access to all Baldwin, I knew that I had to find a way to concentrate Baldwin in one film, if it's even possible. But I knew that it was a one-shot. And it took me 4 years to find the right approach. And I remember Gloria Carifa-Smart, Baldwin's younger sister, one day gave me pages, and among them the letter that you see at the beginning and the notes about remember this house. And she just told me, here, Raoul, you will know what to do with them. And from that point, after I read it, I went through those pages and I knew this is the film. This book that he never was able to write because of all of this death and later in his, before he died, that he didn't have the strength to go through that and to go through that suffering again, this journey, as he says. And I just decided somehow, well, he never wrote it, but somehow the book is here. It exists. It's throughout his whole work. So my job was to go everywhere in his books, his letters, his personal notes, and to find that book out of it. So, and that became the film.
Just one more question for me. Can you talk a little bit about the decision to use Baldwin's words against very contemporary images of the present day, very up-to-the-minute images in many cases, which of course gives I think it's one of the things that gives this film its tremendous power and gives his words the ring of prophecy in a way.
Well, that's the incredible part of all this, is that if you take any books of Baldwin and start reading it, you're not reading about the past. You are reading about today, and it resonates as if it's he's reacting to current news item, and at the same time it's totally universal. It's strong. It's these words were written 30, 40 years ago, and they are stronger by the day. And that's rare to have an author with such an impact to its own history.
Okay, I'm sure there are questions in the audience. We'd love to hear from you. If you raise your hand, and yes, sir. I think, do we have mic runners? Okay, we do have.
I just want to credit you, well, with many things, but one thing certainly, you've managed to find footage of Donald Trump actually apologizing for something. I didn't know any such footage actually existed. So I salute you.
We searched for years.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Also, forgive my ignorance in this matter, but one thing that I'm struggling with. I understand that the assassination of Malcolm, that there are rumors that it was facilitated by white people, but for the most part, the people who have been blamed for it are associates of Elijah Muhammad. Am I correct about that, or?
Well, I think the details of this story is, I think, not so much relevant, because that's one thing. I recommend you the film of Ava DuVernay, 13th, which is exactly, I would say, the theoretical part of that film. Demonstrate it's a plan. Nothing was innocent, and it's easy to get rid of the whole leadership of a movement by just creating the ambience for any crazy person to get rid of them. And that's what I've been done constantly. It's easy to do. And by the way, those leaders were probably the most watched individual in that country. You know, never was the whole structure of power, the FBI, the CIA, all the structure were dedicated of surveillance of those people and infiltrate them and buying some of them and buying their whole entourage. So at one point when they decided, okay, Martin Luther King or Malcolm X, those two guys in particular, they are starting to talk about poverty. They start talking about class and not so much race, because that's the big trick. They kept us busy on the race issue so that we can leave the more important issue, which is the wealth of this country, the inequalities, the economical inequalities. And this is the main question. So when these two leaders, as Baldwin says, were miles apart, became closer and closer together, that was the time where they became really dangerous. And the rest is just technicalities.
Hi. Oh. Hi. Thank you for the movie. The documentary is very relevant to what is happening this day. And I just have to say that Black Lives Matter, because he's really, really, I mean, as a black man, he really, really matters to what is going on today. It's so relevant of what is going, we're going through right now in this country. And when you said that you started the movie, you started thinking about it about 10 years ago? That's at the beginning. So you ever thought that this thing that happened in Ferguson and Baltimore will be so relevant to this movie today?
Well, of course not. And again, don't forget, the story with Ferguson and all those protests happening everywhere in this country, they came out because we had footage of that. That's the difference. But it has been going on and on for years. We all still have in memory the assassination of not only demonstration, but all the leadership, as I said before, the Black Panther destroying any leadership that started to be created. So it's nothing new. So those words were always, unfortunately, true. and it's just becoming more and more present and urgent. And I do hope that the next 5 years will be very important for this country in that matter.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peck, for your film this evening over here. I really appreciated the narrative, and I really appreciate your response about the creation of the narrative and the use of Baldwin's text. And I wanted to know if you could comment on, like, I guess the experience of kind of feeling the power of his words, of that particular narrative, and kind of similar to the sister's question, in the context of where we're living and how we're living and what's happening right now. I attended a screening the other day of author Jaffa's Dreams Are Colder Than Death, and he mentioned the sense of the practice of refusal, the sense of lawmaking and law breaking that's very common in like Black life in general. And I just felt like that was really like a part of the way that Baldwin was speaking about just like this practice of refusal against the mold of what America wants and, you know, perceives us to be. And so I'm just curious, like the experience, and especially you as like your sort of body of work from your body of work, of the experience of being a part of a sense of refusing to be part of a mold.
Yeah, it's a very complicated question. I'm not sure I understood everything, but I've, you know, it's the only thing I could answer to you is go back to Baldwin. You know, Baldwin is key. You can't. When I was 16, 17, there were not so many books to refer to understand who you were and what your life was. And Baldwin was a major presence. And not only that, he was at the time famous. He was everywhere in this Dick Cavett show. You know, he had almost an hour at a time where there were only 3 networks. So he was a major voice. He was one of the first, and everything else that came after him was born out of what he did. People like Toni Morrison have themselves written that Baldwin gave her a language. And he was a real pioneer on that. And the incredible thing is that his words are so powerful today, and it's beyond that. It's like he's telling us about today. You know, that he has a phrase when he said, when a nigger is quoting the Bible, he's not quoting. He's telling you what happened to him today. And Baldwin is exactly that, still today.
So I'm afraid we do have to wrap it up as we have another film about to start, but I want to thank you all for coming, and Raoul, thank you so much for the film.
Okay, and spread the words, please. Thank you.